Spotted lanternflies invade NoVA, what you need to know. Spotted lanternflies have made a grand return to northern Virginia, transforming from their earlier nymph stages into full-fledged adults. This summer, you won't be able to escape spotting these winged pests wherever you go. Back in early spring, residents began noticing the first signs of lanternflies, starting as tiny black and white creatures before transitioning into slightly larger red nymphs. Fast forward to mid-July, and many of these insects have reached adulthood, though you might still encounter some of those red nymphs hanging around. According to the Virginia Cooperative Extension, adult spotted lanternflies are most prevalent in August and start laying eggs around September, continuing until November. Winter's chill usually puts an end to the adult population, but not before they've had a chance to reproduce rapidly. As Jules Ammoniter, the spotted lanternfly field supervisor with the Virginia Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, explains, we typically see a significant increase in lanternfly populations as the invasion progresses. However, in areas where lanternflies have been present for longer periods, some communities have observed a stabilization in population growth. An expert from the Virginia Cooperative Extension shared with the Augusta Free Press that Northern Virginia could face a heavy infestation of spotted lanternflies for 3 to 5 years before the numbers start to decrease, though they are unlikely to disappear entirely. Identifying adult spotted lanternflies. The United States Department of Agriculture describes adult spotted lanternflies as approximately 1 inch long and half an inch wide, with large wings. Their forewings are brown with black spots at the front and a speckled pattern at the rear. The hind wings are a striking scarlet color, featuring black spots at the front and white and black bands at the rear. Managing the problem. Spotted lanternflies primarily target woody branches and trees, with a particular fondness for the invasive tree of heaven. While they pose no direct threat to humans or pets, they can cause substantial damage to agricultural crops. To tackle spotted lanternflies on your property, you can use either contact or systemic insecticides. Contact insecticides work by applying the chemical directly to the insects, whereas systemic insecticides are sprayed onto plants, killing the pests when they feed. It's essential to follow the instructions on the insecticide labels carefully to prevent harming the environment. Once lanternflies start laying eggs, destroying their egg masses becomes another effective control method. These masses resemble gray or brown mud. The USDA recommends smashing the egg masses and scraping them into a plastic bag filled with rubbing alcohol or hand sanitizer. Another strategy is to identify and remove any tree of heaven from your property, as it serves as a preferred host for lanternflies. Be cautious when removing this tree. Simply cutting it down will lead to vigorous regrowth. Consulting a local cooperative extension office or hiring a professional can provide guidance on proper removal techniques. Fighting spotted lanternflies, a Maryland winemaker's battle to save his vines. You can't simply spray your way out of this issue. A Maryland winemaker's perspective on battling spotted lanternflies ****. The spotted lanternfly has firmly established itself as a significant pest since its arrival in Pennsylvania back in 2014. Initially, Robert Butz, co-owner of Windridge Vineyards located in Montgomery County, felt little concern about these insects. He shared, "Having farmed my entire life, I've seen invasive species come and go. They usually don't stick around for long. However, the reality is that this particular pest presents a serious challenge. For grape farmers, the situation is markedly different. This is a genuine concern, without a doubt," he explained. The crux of the issue lies in the lanternfly's preference for nectar, particularly the type that flows through the vines responsible for producing the grapes that Windridge Vineyards transforms into its wines. Butz pointed out that these pests can inflict such severe damage on the vines that they can ultimately kill the entire plant. He takes pride in the fact that Windridge has been judicious in its use of insecticides. "One of our vineyards is entirely free of insecticides," he noted. "In the others, We do apply sprays occasionally, but only for specific pests. Despite having to increase their use of insecticides to combat the spotted lanternflies, Butz remains skeptical about this approach being the ultimate solution. To be honest, you can't just spray your way out of this problem, he stated firmly. The teams at Windridge are actively working to disrupt the life cycle of these invasive insects. During the winter, I had my crew go out with plumber's torches to burn the egg masses. Others might scrape them off. There are various methods to tackle this issue, he explained. Another tactic Butz has implemented involves placing his vines far away from hedgerows that could serve as resting areas for the lanternflies. He has also observed that these pests are particularly fond of walnut trees and ailanthus, commonly referred to as the tree of heaven. While he chooses to leave the walnut trees untouched, considering them a heritage species tree, the ailanthus, being another invasive species, is a different matter altogether. It's a straightforward decision, we need to eliminate it, he concluded. What do you think? Is there a better way to handle invasive species like the spotted lanternfly? Share your thoughts in the comments below, ****. Get the latest news and daily updates delivered straight to your inbox by signing up here. Lanternfly War, why Stomping isn't working and what's next? Who's really winning the battle? The lanternfly resurgence ****. It appears that the lanternflies are the ones truly thriving in this ongoing struggle. Last year, New York City prematurely celebrated a supposed victory in its fight against these troublesome pests. However, officials are now acknowledging that the much-publicized Stomp Out campaign, which encouraged residents to squash the flies, has not succeeded, and the invasive species is making a notable comeback. Chris Logue, the director of the State Division of Plants at the Department of Agriculture and Markets, shared insights with the Post, stating, "The extensive variety of plants that these insects can feed on, their ability to move through various life stages over considerable distances, and their sheer population numbers have indicated from the very beginning that this would be a formidable challenge." Looking ahead, Logue predicts, we are likely to continue encountering spotted lanternflies. Their range is expected to keep expanding. He elaborated that no amount of stomping, squishing, or insecticides will completely eradicate this species, a point he recently discussed with Gothamist. The focus has now shifted from an all-out war to managing the rapidly growing populations of these pests. This marks a significant change from the aggressive campaign New York launched in 2023, which urged citizens to combat the insects by crushing them on site. The initiative quickly gained traction, with even young children joining the effort, armed with sturdy shoes and bottles of vinegar to help eliminate the lanternflies. Currently, these invasive insects have been spotted in 26 out of New York's 62 counties. State officials are concentrating their eradication efforts in northwestern regions, where lanternflies pose a serious threat to grape farms and wineries. Interestingly, a study from NYU published in December revealed that these pests are now living up to 5 months longer than when they first appeared. Logue noted that officials recently received their first report of an adult lanternfly emerging from New York City, which is a full month earlier than expected. Just 10 months ago, pest management specialists at Cornell University were celebrating what they thought was a significant reduction in the lanternfly population, attributing this success to Operation Squish. One expert remarked at the time, "We're likely reducing the population." However, Logue now suggests that the apparent decline was merely a fluctuation in the lanternfly populations. These insects tend to consume plants until they are depleted, then migrate to new areas where resources are abundant. The overall population has continued to grow, spreading across as many as 18 states. To combat the lanternflies in New York, officials routinely treat tree of heavens and other host plants in counties north and west of Albany. However, they have not implemented treatments in New York City, as there are no crops at risk of destruction there. Logue explained, we aren't conducting treatments in the city. We have a few locations upstate that are critical due to their proximity to vineyards, where some treatments may occur, but we aren't doing that type of work in the city. This doesn't mean that residents shouldn't take action against lanternflies on their own. However, the stomping method may not be as urgent as it once seemed. Now, individuals are encouraged to focus on removing egg masses in the fall and ensuring they aren't inadvertently transporting these pests during road trips. On a positive note, some birds and bats have begun to prey on lanternflies, which previously had no natural enemies. Officials from the Department of Agriculture and Markets also encourage New Yorkers living north and west of Albany to report sightings of lanternflies, allowing the state to target affected areas more effectively. Lowe concluded, "We are not going to discourage people from stamping them if that's something they wish to continue doing. But here's where it gets controversial. Are we truly equipped to handle the lanternfly invasion, or are we merely delaying the inevitable? What do you think? Share your thoughts in the comments.